The containment facility hummed with an electric tension that made Elijah's skin prickle. He'd been working at Sector 7 for 3 months now, long enough to know which corridors to avoid and which alien specimens required triple-sealed doors. But nothing had prepared him for her. Emma, or Subject X-447 as the facility called her, towered at nearly 12 feet even in her cramped containment cell. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent quality that shifted between deep violet and midnight blue depending on the light. 4 arms, each muscular and graceful, hung at her sides. Her face, though alien in its elongated features and luminous silver eyes, held an expression that Elijah recognized immediately. Hunger. Don't even think about it, Dr. Martinez had warned him on his first day assigned to this sector. She's Category 5 sentient, extremely intelligent, extremely dangerous. The feeding protocol exists for a reason. Automated dispensers only. No direct contact. Elijah had nodded, filed the information away, and gone about his duties. But that was before he'd actually seen her. Before he'd watched her curl into the corner of her cell each night, those silver eyes tracking the automated feeder with something that looked disturbingly like despair. The dispensers dropped nutrient blocks 3 times a day. Gray, tasteless, cubes that met every biological requirement according to the xenobiologists. Technically sufficient. Practically cruel. It was the 3rd week when Elijah made his mistake. Or perhaps his choice. He'd brought his lunch, homemade pasta with tomato sauce, the recipe his grandmother had taught him, and eaten it in the observation room. Emma had pressed against the transparent aluminum barrier, her nostrils flaring, those 4 arms splayed against the wall like a child at a bakery window. "You can smell it, can't you?" Elijah had whispered. Her head tilted, and for the first time she'd made a sound, not the aggressive roars that had terrified the capture team, but something soft, almost questioning. A rumble from deep in her chest that sounded painfully like longing. The next day, Elijah brought an extra container. His hands shook as he approached. The secondary feeding port, the one meant for equipment transfer, not food. The protocol screamed in his head. The warnings blazed in neon letters across his conscience. But Emma was starving, not for calories or nutrients, but for something the gray blocks could never provide. Flavor, variety, dignity. He slid the container through. Emma's reaction was immediate. All 4 arms moved with surprising delicacy as she opened the container. She brought the pasta to her face, inhaling deeply, and then, carefully, reverently, took a bite. The sound she made then would haunt Elijah forever. Relief and joy mixed into a harmonic that resonated through the cell walls. From that moment, everything changed. Dr. Martinez noticed first. Subject X-447's aggression levels have dropped 30%, she announced at the weekly briefing, puzzled. Cooperation with medical scans has increased. We're not sure what's caused the behavioral shift. Elijah said nothing. He couldn't, because he was bringing her food every day now. Sometimes it was simple. Fresh fruit, bread with real butter. Other times he got ambitious. Curry, grilled vegetables, even a chocolate chip cookie once. Emma received each offering like it was sacred, and she'd begun waiting by the feeding port at the exact time Elijah arrived. But the real problem started when Elijah called in sick. The facility went into lockdown at 3:47 a.m. Emma had torn through 2 security doors and disabled 3 guard drones before the emergency response team could mobilize. She hadn't hurt anyone. In fact, she'd carefully moved unconscious guards to safe positions. But she was unstoppable, methodical, searching for Elijah. "Stand down." Commander Price's voice boomed through the facility speakers. "Subject X-447, return to your containment cell immediately." Emma ignored them all. She moved through the corridors with purpose, sniffing the air, following a trail only she could detect. Personnel scattered before her, and the facility AI calculated a 78% probability of catastrophic containment failure. Elijah arrived at the facility at 4:15 a.m., feverish and shaking from the flu, but unable to ignore the emergency calls flooding his phone. He barely made it through security before Emma found him. She appeared at the end of the corridor, all 12 feet of her, powerful and terrifying. Guards raised weapons. Someone screamed. And Elijah, delirious with fever, simply raised a hand. "Emma, stop." She froze. The corridor fell silent except for Elijah's ragged breathing. Emma approached slowly, and Elijah could see it now. The intelligence in those silver eyes, the concern in the way her forearms reached toward him, but didn't touch. She rumbled again, that questioning sound, and gently, impossibly gently for a being of her size and strength, pushed him toward the medical bay. "She's protecting him," Dr. Martinez whispered from behind a security barrier. Emma wouldn't let anyone else approach. For 3 hours she stood guard while medical staff treated Elijah's fever from a cautious distance, her eyes tracking every movement, every person who came near. She'd brought him a blanket from her cell, her only comfort item, and draped it over him with remarkable care. When Elijah woke, properly medicated and rehydrated, Emma was sitting beside his bed, waiting. One massive hand hovered near his, not quite touching, as if asking permission. He took it. The facility board held an emergency meeting. Commander Price wanted Emma terminated. Dr. Martinez argued for continued containment. But Elijah, still weak but determined, presented a third option. "She's not a specimen," he said. "She's a person. She was taken from her world, locked in a cage, fed garbage, and treated like an animal. And despite all of that, she's shown more humanity than half the people in this facility." The security footage proved his point. Emma had disabled, but not destroyed. She'd protected, but not harmed. She'd searched not for freedom, but for connection. 6 months later, Emma walked the facility grounds freely, a translator device allowing her to communicate in her own complex language. She'd been reclassified as a diplomatic guest rather than a subject, and negotiations had begun for her eventual return home. But she insisted on one condition for her cooperation. Elijah remained her liaison. "Why him?" Dr. Martinez asked Emma one day, genuine curiosity overcoming her scientific detachment. Emma's response, translated through the device, was simple. "He fed me when he didn't have to, not because it was his job, not because he was ordered. He fed me because he saw me hungry and decided I mattered. In my world, there is no greater bond than sharing food with intention. He chose to see me as worthy of kindness." Elijah never told them that he'd actually broken 17 protocols and violated 6 safety regulations. Some things he decided were more important than rules. Emma taught him words in her language. He taught her to make pasta. And together, they proved that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is also the most human. Treat someone with unexpected kindness and refuse to accept that cages are inevitable. The galaxy, it turned out, had much to learn from a man who couldn't walk past hunger without responding, and from a giantess who refused to let go of the first person who'd treated her like she mattered.